juggling screens and nearby chat, and I will do my best to pay attention to both. If you don't feel like using voice, that's fine, of course. But apologies if I miss anything that does go by in chat. So yeah, first, welcome back. It's another month has gone by, and this is our fourth mobile monthly user group. That's a mouthful. Um, thank you for joining today, and thanks for all the participation previously. As a quick reminder, this is our chance to share updates and progress on the Second Life mobile app with you all and listen to feedback and answer questions. I'll do a quick shout out to my colleagues that are here today. We are missing a few folks today. Spring break seems to be following over multiple weeks, so some folks are out. But you've got me, Bridie Linden, happy to be here as your friendly neighborhood PM, doing all the things to try and make Second Life mobile better for everybody and keep all the plates spinning and all that. I was out last week, so if I was a little quiet on Discord and in Second Life, that's why. We've got Pluto, our lead senior UX designer for the project. You want to say hey?
Hi there, everybody. Yeah, that's me. It's Pluto Linden. Sorry, I've got something in my throat. Yeah, good to be here. I'm the UX designer on the mobile team, and yeah, happy to be here. We've got some good things to talk about and share today.
Cool, cool. And then we've got Adam, who's our dev lead on mobile. You want to say hey?
Hello, hello. I am really happy to be here again.
Yeah, you'll get to hear a lot from Adam today. And then I think we have a stray hiding around here somewhere. I think off to my left.
Hello.
Stray keeps all the things you can't see running for us. She is an awesome part of the
Infrastructure,
team.
databases.
Mm-hmm. All those things. Okay, I think that's everybody from our side. Shout out to Viola and Ruby. You two have been helping a lot in the in-world Second Life welcome group. Has gotten really big and is occasionally very active and sometimes a little quiet. I would also invite anyone who's not in there to join, but yeah, thanks for your help and support. Let's go ahead and talk about updates since we last hung out together. Oh, hey, Brad, welcome. You want to say hey?
Yeah, sure. I'm another developer on the team. I try not to get too much breakage in front of Adam.
Thanks, Fred. Happy to have you here. And hopefully your list is, well, hopefully soon it will get shorter and then it'll get longer. Yeah, so
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, yes. All right. We did ship, well, we shipped several fixes, but one fix I wanted to call out. I wanted to actually thank some folks in this group because the bug came through on our feedback portal. And do I have a link to it handy? It was the one that was, yes, I do have it handy. Adam's going to beat me to copying and pasting it, I think. Let's see. Yep, that's the one. There was an issue that if you were on mobile and you got an offer of inventory, it wasn't coming through. And obviously that was not good. And we had a little trouble reproing it, but you all helped by providing specific repro steps. And Beanie, who's not here today, was able to repro it, and we were able to get a fix in. Thank you, Adam, and get it deployed. So now, if you do get an inventory offer while on mobile, when you log back in on desktop, it will still be there. So we are working through. Eventually, we will of course add that capability on mobile, but right now you don't get any notice, but it is not lost. So hooray for that. Moving on from that one, back in the early part of this month, we launched a little something called Dash for Cash. And here is the blog post for that in case you didn't see it. This has been a very popular capability that we launched. In case you're not familiar, this is the if you enable notifications on your mobile device daily, we will send you a message saying, hey, log in now. And if you log in quickly enough, we will reward you with Linden dollars. As we say in the blog post, it's that simple. So suffice it to say, it has been very effective and popular. And The other thing that we just shipped was an improvement to that, which is adding your name to the notification. So those of us that might have multiple accounts, you know which account is being asked to log in to get that reward. So pretty cool, pretty exciting to see the activity and excitement around that. Some other things that are in progress. Just a few things I wanted to mention that kind of fall into the quality of life bucket. So things that we're just trying to improve that, makes your Second Life on mobile life better. So one thing that you'll see soon, not yet, is when you teleport while you're still in the lobby, we're going to pop up a dialogue in front of you, so you know that you're teleporting instead of just the progress bar at the top and the go button. So it's just to make that more obvious. Another thing we're doing is some cleanup in the settings. So we're moving maximum avatars that render around you from a developer setting up into the main setting screen. And then we are also working on granular group notice notifications. So right now it's just, if you want to get a notification for group notices, it's just on or off, which again, for those of us that are in many groups, that can get a little noisy. So that is coming soon as well. Okay, Pluto, do you want to talk about another small thing that is in the future bucket, but not too far future?
Yeah, it's a fairly minor change, but it is laying the groundwork to make lobby get it closer to what we want it to eventually be, and that is to allow you during a session after you've started and you've gone to the lobby and chosen where to go or what to do, decide that you want to get back to that for some reason. We have will soon have the ability to return to lobby, and we've put in the place that sign out is a button that will say return to lobby, and sign out on the app will actually be in the profile bar, which is the spot that shows your display name and picture at the top. If you tap that, you can sign out. But this is laying, as I said, laying the groundwork for a behavior where you can, we hope to get to in the next couple of months, where you can be sort of stay in the app and logged in and seeing messages without actually being present in world, and use the app in a lightweight mode to sort of stay in touch without being physically present. And we're not there yet. We have a lot still to do, but we are working on it, and that's the vision that we want to get to, and this is one little step in that direction. So look for that in the weeks to come, and look for much more in a month or two, hopefully. We're definitely shooting for this summer to really get that behavior I just described in the app. And with that, Bridie, did you have more, or should we hand it to Adam?
Okay, lots more, but not for today. Yeah, we're going to pass the mic to Adam, who's going to talk to us about rendering improvements that are in the pipeline.
And I'll just say one more thing, actually,
Sure.
in reference to the lots more. We have quite a few other things that we're working on that will be targeted to ship in May, but those are a little early for us to be able to share here. So we appreciate your patience, but we have quite a few really good things coming to the app in the category of quality of life, making it easier to use and more fun to use. So look for those at the next meeting and in the upcoming releases.
Indeed. I should also say, if there's anyone here on mobile, yay, I'm glad you're using mobile and joining us. But the slideshow that is over here, we were reminded of an issue that we already knew about, that you'll see the first image that is in the slideshow, but you're not going to see it as I advance it. So my apologies that that bug still exists, and we're working on it. And thank you to whoever is doing the screen recording today, and hopefully you'll be able to go and view that later. In the meantime, you get to listen to Adam's lovely voice as he talks to us about all the awesomeness that is coming. And Adam, just let me know when you want me to advance slides.
Brilliant. Well, look, let me sort of set the scene here and say that it's been a little while since we last talked about avatar updates, but I know that for most people using the app, it is one of the most important things that we get your avatar looking right. And it's been a sort of an ongoing challenge to try and figure out the Second Life avatar system. So what I'll suggest is, Bridie, why don't you get started on this one, and I'll walk through a few points about what we're doing and to try and make avatars work just a little bit better. So I've got a couple of points to this presentation. It's probably going to take me about half an hour, I think. So everyone buckle in, grab a drink, and we're going to show you a little bit about what we're working on and some of the fixes we've got coming down the pipeline. We've got some recent improvements. Actually, our avatar tests this morning are passing a lot more than they were yesterday. And I'm also going to talk a little bit, we've got still got work to do. So we actually have a list of known issues that we're still working on, and we'll walk through what those are and sort of how and when we will get to those. So let's go to the next slide. So let me just recap a couple of points from previous discussion. So one of the things that I've mentioned maybe 2 or 3 months ago was that the Second Life mobile app is a pretty much ground up rebuild of Second Life's desktop viewer for mobile. It is very different to the desktop viewer. We can't really share a lot of code between them. Some of the things that we do in order to get the performance we need on mobile mean that we have to do things in dramatically different ways. And that means that we are effectively relearning the entire avatar system and trying to figure it all out without a lot of documentation around. So there's lots and lots of little quirks that we are having to discover one by one, and even the smallest change and way that an avatar is loaded can have a huge impact on how things actually appear visually. So there is a lot of work that we have to do to try and get this all working correctly. It's not a simple problem, unfortunately. So your patience is appreciated. We know that there is a long way to go on some avatars, but we're hoping that after today you'll see that we're getting a little bit closer at least. So let's go to the next slide. So what's new? So today I want to talk about 2 things that we've got that we've just done. The first is something that's an internal thing. It's not something that you necessarily are going to see, but it is something that speeds us up a lot as we're doing avatars. And that's our new regression and test suite. I'm going to talk a bit about that because it's quite cool. The other thing I'm going to show off is a group of fixes that we've done and particular avatars that are now working. So let's talk about our test suite. So one of the problems with avatars, with Second Life in particular, has been that the fixes we make for one avatar may end up breaking another avatar. And it's really painful because often I'll come up with a very clever idea on how to get one avatar rendering correctly, and it'll work. It will render correctly. And then we'll go through our test suite and find out that actually I broke 5 other avatars in the process. It has been a very disappointing process whenever this happens because I get very excited and then suddenly become very disappointed when that happens. So the way we currently test avatars is that we've got a small group of avatars that we use for very fast tests. There is sort of a group that will frequently test the boundaries of things. But we mostly test with a group of about 60 avatars that we've dressed up. So Beanie and Miklos, who are two main testers on this, basically log into 60 different accounts with the mobile app, take screenshots, check everything out, do it one by one. And the problem with that is that it takes about a week to do. It takes a really long time to go through all of these avatars, check that we haven't broken anything. So if I make a small tweak to the avatars, it's a huge process to make sure that it's a genuine improvement that improves at least the majority of them. If we sort of fix 40 avatars and break one, we might go forward with that kind of change. But generally speaking, we're trying to do precise fixes that fix everything. So we use these 60 avatars that we've dressed up, and they're sort of a variety of avatars. Some of them are tiny, some of them are furries. We've really got a very healthy mix of avatars in that suite of avatars. But it's still not perfect. We don't have every avatar in there, and we would like to get more. And we supplement that a little bit with some random testing. So we'll go hop into popular places, have a look and see what all the avatars look like there, which is another way of getting a good mix here. But as I said, this is a slow process, and it's really something that we don't want to be doing a lot of. So one of the things that we have built over the last 2 weeks is what we call our new auto snapshotter. And it basically loads avatars automatically. It takes screenshots from them automatically and then jumps to another batch of them. And it means that I can very quickly start testing much higher quantities of avatars when we're doing these fixes. And we've already seen some real benefits from this. One of them is that I've already found and fixed 2 or 3 new bugs that we've found and have already given us some big wins this week. So if we jump to the next slide, There is going to be my attempt at graphic design that's going to make Photo weep. But this is sort of a rough outline of what we see. So we'll get, for every avatar, we'll get a lot of screenshots from a variety of angles on each of this. This was my avatar here. And if we jump to the next slide, we'll see a little bit more of a diverse mix. So the system basically does what I says. It loads a group of avatars. It'll actually load them as if they were in the Second Life mobile app, including things like avatar animations. It is effectively a full avatar being rendered in there. We render it from a couple of different angles and varieties. Yeah, that's Atlas Linden's egg in there. There's a few others. Viola here, the avatar she was wearing last time we did this meetup is in here, and we've got a few others. We try and aggressively collect avatars when we can for using in these tests, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But the goal here is that we basically get a consistent, reproducible way of looking at an avatar, so we can load up lots of them simultaneously and sort of save them out and be able to then check a folder of 1,300 screenshots, which is a lot faster than waiting a week for Ben and Nicholas to do the full regression tests. So if we jump to the next slide, this is one of the more exciting things that we've been able to do since we've started testing this. So this morning, before I did this latest update, our test results, we're using 85 avatars now as part of our first group. Some of them are avatars that have been here at this meetup. Some of them have been people who sent us bug reports saying their avatar's not working. And some of them are the 60 or so avatars that we've dressed up ourselves. So there's a good mix in there, and we're looking to expand that. But this morning, the rendering correctly count, I think from memory it was 45. So already today, we've fixed another large bunch of them, and mostly it was the minor defects that we fixed. Unfortunately, the major ones have been a bit more resistant to fixes. But what we can see there is that there's quite a lot of avatars that are now rendering correctly, and they are showing what they should. We do still have some problems. There are certain avatars that still cause issues. If you look on those minor defects groups there, which is sort of avatars that are recognizable but not completely broken, you'll see things like, for example, the length of a limb, such as the anime avatar in the background there. The limb's length is completely wrong. In the middle one there, the texture is not quite right for the head, and the other one's got an issue with the deformers not looking quite right. Those are sort of the minor ones, and they're becoming a lot rarer, at least as of this morning. The major defects, most of these are tinies. We haven't quite figured out exactly what's wrong with that one, but it's something to do with animations that we need to solve still. However, that group is getting smaller, and thankfully it's only about 10% of the test pool there. So, as of today at least, we've got about 81% of our avatars are rendering correctly, which is hopefully a big improvement. So why do we build this? Well, as I said, it's a big time-saving issue. That's one. The big one is also catching our regressions. As I said, when we fix one issue, we often break several other things. So the faster we can find that out, it means the faster I can iterate on that fix. If we have to go through a full regression cycle every time, it means that sometimes we might only get 1 or 2 major avatar fixes out in a month because it's taken a long time to go through these processes. But now we've got this process. It takes us about an hour. It still takes a little bit longer than I would like, and I think we can speed that up, but an hour is a lot faster than a week. So I've been able to do quite a few tests already in the last couple of days, and we've found several new bugs that we haven't before. Go to the next slide. So this is one where I'm going to put a little bit of a call to help. We now have the capacity to test a lot more avatars. Rather than just being limited to that sort of 60 avatars that we selected as a sample, we can now potentially test hundreds or even thousands of avatars as part of our test suites. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that everyone's avatars will get submitted into this pool. We're really looking for avatars that expose unique functionalities or unique combinations of things, but if you have an issue with your avatar, especially after the next update, please submit bug reports saying that my avatar is broken, because we will be able to add your avatar into the test pool. And that means that we can start iterating and finding out what is causing those problems to happen. If you're a creator, submit your items as well. If they're not showing right on mobile, then we probably want to have a look at that. I'll exempt from this. We are going to talk a bit about what's not working in a minute, and if it's in our list of known issues, maybe hold off. But otherwise, we really are just going to start looking for more and more test avatars to use here. So if you've got things that are broken, we're going to be able to start drilling down on that. The other note I'll put here is please use the in-client bug reporter. That is the only way we're going to be able to get this data. The client itself captures some useful information about what you're wearing, so we can recreate it on our side. And without that information, we won't be able to solve this. So you've got to send a bug report from inside the app itself for this to be useful for us. All right, next slide. So let's talk a bit about some of these fixes that I have been talking about and what's actually contributed to that number going up on the previous slide. So next. So these are the things that are not working yet. And I'll talk a little bit about what's wrong with them and what's not. I'm not going to talk too much about Animesh because I talked about that last month, but there is performance impacts on that one, and until we've got those resolved, that will be an ongoing thing that we don't support just yet. The other thing's not working, flexies. We know flexies are kind of working right now, but the spring calculation is not right. And that means they're too slow to update. We will be working on an improvement for that one at some point that will get flexies behaving a little bit more like what they do on the desktop. Another big one is system eyes. The eyes that you wear as part of a mesh body, those generally get placed where they should be, but the ones that rely on the system or the roof eyes, they get placed a little bit wrong. And the reason for this one is that the desktop Second Life viewer animates these procedurally, and we haven't ported that code for the procedural animation across to mobile just yet. And as a result of that, the position of those eyes can sometimes be a bit wrong. Either they're too far forward or too far back. We've got an average position in there right now, but it's not great. So there will be some work we need to do to make sure that is improved going forward. Next. So the next one is a complex one, and this is going to be a really tricky one for us to solve longer term, and that is lighting. Some of the issues with going across to Unity means that we are using Unity's rendering system, and Unity's rendering system unfortunately hard codes their lighting equation. The lighting equation that Second Life uses is not the same one, and unfortunately they can't be integrated. We are going to have to fork Unity at some point in order to get that lighting working correctly, but we're going to push that one off probably to the last minute because forking a large code base like that is not something we want to do, especially not for a one-line change if we can avoid it. There are other areas, though, of lighting that we may be able to improve. One of them is the calculation of how normals interact with lights. There's something wrong with the current calculations that can result in parts of avatars appearing a bit too shiny on mobile. You can sort of see the arrow I've got pointed there shows that tail's got a little bit of shininess in the bottom of it. That's because of that normal bug, and it is something we've been chasing for a while. There's also some issues of avatar ambient lighting intensity. Avatars are just a little bit too dark on mobile. That is something that we will hopefully be able to fix with a bit more of a short-term hack fix than having to edit the whole lighting pipeline. Another one that's going to be a long-term one, and that's transparency. For mobile performance reasons, and particularly the way that mobile GPUs work, they really don't like what's called overdraw. And that means the way you're sort of rendering the same pixel multiple times, which transparency basically does. So one of the ways that we're getting around this on mobile is we're using something called dithered transparency, where we actually don't use real transparency. Instead, we sort of use a spray paint effect to do that. Now, we're only halfway done on this feature. We're going to be combining this with something called temporal anti-aliasing, and when that's in place, the dithered transparency will look the same as normal transparency. And that also means we'll have good order-independent transparency, meaning that you can layer windows and things together, and they won't appear rendering they sort of flicker or things end up in the wrong position. That won't match the desktop behavior, though. Sometimes people's avatars do rely on very specific draw orders. We are not supporting that on mobile just because sorting those things and applying all those draw orders is going to slow down our rendering. So we are going to be working more heavily on improving the system we've got on mobile, which may look a little bit different. And I'd encourage people not to use hacks around transparency. because that will be one area that mobile will differ from desktop. Another thing that's missing is PBR. We've started doing some work on this one. I'm not going to overpromise anything because I think Grumpy will appear out of the woodwork and yell at me for talking about it. But nonetheless, PBR is something that we're beginning to look at now as well. So there will be some updates on that one maybe in a future event. Let's move to the next slide. It's the final group of things that are not quite working right, and this is one that we know about. And this is our over-aggressive silhouetting. No, don't say soon. PBR is not soon. But the silhouetting is something that we will be fixing sooner. We currently implement silhouetting when an avatar has not fully downloaded, but there is other reasons why an avatar can stay silhouetted. The reason we do this is obviously we need to stay compliant with the App Store rules, and the App Store rules tend to be quite restrictive on things like accidental nudity being displayed. We have to sort of stay on the right side of this one because we could get ourselves into a bit of trouble if we don't. So the Second Life mobile apps waits until an avatar has been fully downloaded before it will take that silhouette down. However, there's a lot of reasons why an avatar won't fully load. And I've got a list here, and I'll read this one out, and there's some reasons why this happens. The first one is that the avatar has an invalid mesh or texture attached to it. That means someone's used scripting to set a mesh or texture that doesn't actually exist, or it was erased from the asset system or something like that. Just the presence of one of those is enough to stop an avatar from loading. This is something that we need to decide what we're going to do about handling this one, because that could also be caused by something not downloading correctly. We're going to have to figure out exactly how we want to choose to handle that. Another reason why it might not render is if it's got scripted animation that involves rapid updates. So this is stuff like doing scripted texture flipbooks or mesh flipbooks and things like that. The problem is that every time it does that, it will send the avatar back into the silhouette very briefly. We don't turn the silhouette on and off quickly. We actually wait about a second before we turn it off, and that's to stop it from flickering on or off, which happens quite a lot towards the end of an avatar's loading if we don't have that in place. So scripted animation, unfortunately, can be a reason why it will stay silhouetted, and we're going to come up with a better solution for this one, because I do think there is some, particularly if we're flipping back and forth between the same assets. That's probably a good reason to not re-silhouette the avatar. Another reason is just simply that we ran out of RAM. RAM is our big arch enemy with mobile app. As I've said before, we've got about 500 to 800 meg to play with, and unfortunately running out of RAM tends to be a rather common affair. And if we do, then there's a chance that part of the avatar won't have loaded, and if that's the case, the silhouette will stay up. Another one is an issue with the mobile app itself. We think there's a bug that's causing Sims to not bake their skin correctly because of what the mobile app is sending the Sim. We've got some work to do on fixing that one, but that's another common cause. Another one is that part of the object update was missing. This means that the Sim sent an object update for part of your avatar, but we never got it because the protocol uses UDP. This does happen every now and then. We do re-request things, but sometimes something for one reason or another didn't get there, or there was a bug. And as a result, this is another reason why avatars won't necessarily appear. Last ones are if you hit the max avatar cap. That one's a bit more understandable. We've now moved that into the settings, so it won't be buried in the developer settings much longer. And that one, I think in the next update, you'll see that it's just part of the general settings, so you can play with that a little bit more easily. The last reason why it might not show is just there was a bug. It does happen, and bug splats occasionally will tell us. So if you use the in-world reporting tool, sometimes it will tell us something. If your avatar never loads from silhouetting and you've relogged multiple times and it's still not showing, then perhaps that would be a good case to send us a bug report, because we might be encountering some kind of bug that we can fix. Regardless, there are lots of things we need to tweak to improve this one, but it is something we are working on, and hopefully won't survive too many more releases. We can be a little bit less cautious on how much we silhouette the avatar. So let's move to the next one.
Can I add one other point, Adam?
Yeah, of course.
It's maybe worth noting that the third bullet point there, that we don't render on mobile until the avatar is complete, also means that we won't show any parts of your body under your clothing before everything is there. So
Yes,
that
very,
is,
very important on that one. We want to make sure that we're not accidentally showing genitalia or anything else that that shouldn't be there.
yeah, and that's something we, worked hard on and was intentional on mobile.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and click to the next slide.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a diversion here and talk a bit about the Second Life rendering process and sort of how we build the mobile avatars. This is sort of under the hood stuff, and I won't go too technical, but the Second Life avatar has 201 bones, and that sort of each bone sort of dictates how it animates on a particular area of the body. So there is a whole collection of them. There's 26 base bones, another sort of 32 attachment bones, another 100 and something bento extended bones, and so forth. One of the interesting quirks that we have discovered is that every single one of those is handled slightly differently. There is different rules and different, even sort of different rendering ways for attachments that rig to them. So we've had a lot of fun discovering just how different all of those bones actually behave when you try and get them in concert. I think we've got most of those rules now properly sorted. There's still probably a few more to go, but we've definitely cracked the back on the majority of those particular quirks. But there are some differences in how mobile works and how the desktop viewer works. And one of the key ones is that the Second Life desktop really only has one copy of the bone structure per avatar. And this is quite different to how mobile does it. And it also causes some problems that we sort of have to try and work around. The biggest issue is that because there's only one copy of it, any changes that are made to your avatar skeleton are permanent, at least for that session. And that means that sort of if you run an animation that moves some bones around, you might need to force your avatar reset in order to get things back to normal. And this is because there's only one copy and it doesn't actually have a backup to restore after that animation is finished. The changes, though, are while not random, they're not entirely deterministic either. So if you've got a shape that modifies a bone and you've got a deformer that modifies the same bone, depending on which one loads first, it might be one or the other that actually happens. And finally, animations can clobber both sets of settings. And if someone logs in afterwards, say, they may not see the same avatar that you see right now. So these are some things that we've sort of been trying to struggle with on mobile on how we replicate. Do we actually replicate the broken behavior, or we do try and make it a little bit more consistent? So if you go to the next slide, we'll talk about what we've been doing. So the solution on mobile is that we have different data sets per avatar. Instead of having one data set that sort of is the last value stored, on mobile, we actually store multiple data sets per avatar. So we've got the base shape, we've got your shape changes, your deformer changes, and your animation changes all stored separately. And then when it comes down to time to render, we actually recombine all of them and do so in a very consistent ordering. And that means that things like needing to force reset your avatar won't happen on mobile, but it does mean that things might look a little bit different than on desktop because we are trying to force a consistent ordering on this stuff. So you can sort of see below is the order that we've picked, and that is that we've got the base, then your shape, then your deformers, and then your animations. But there are exceptions. In order to make the avatars load consistently, for example, one of the things we know is that if a deformer edits a body part, more often than not, the body part, the shape change will override the deformer. So what we've got is we've got a whole host of special rules in the system that says this particular set of bones, we will always use the shape data, and this particular set of bones will use deformer data if it's available, and so forth. If you don't have a shape that targets that bone, then we will use the deformer one. But what we've tried to do is we've tried to map out precise logic on how this should all work so that it is consistent. However, that does mean that there is some problems with certain other things. So if we move to the next slide, actually, we'll come to one of the future slides. So I'll come back to that on animations because there is a bit more to talk about there. But this is one of the fixes that we've done this month. So this is an avatar that joined us last time at the mobile meetup. One of the things I have been doing at these mobile meetups is actually logging in with mobile and having a look at whose avatars are working and whose aren't. So a couple of avatars got added to the test pool, and this is one of them. What you'll notice here is that the shoulder joint, or the elbow joint, I should say, is rather broken. And the reason is that the avatar skeleton was too short, and that was being triggered by a conflict between the shape and the deformers, which we've now fixed. You can now see the fixed result, and as a result, the arm is just a little bit longer and a little bit more correctly placed, so sharp issues don't happen. This is probably a more minor version of this particular bug. We've seen some more extreme examples of it, but what we can say is that this is now very much fixed, and one of the good things about this particular bug was that we were able to trace the exact logic through the desktop viewer source code. And we can confirm that what we're doing now is going to be 100% matching what the desktop viewer does, which is something we can't always do, but in this particular case we can. Move to the next one. We have another fix. This one is one that is a new setting. It is not going to be enabled by default for the moment, but we have Bridie Linden here, who has rejoined us in a different avatar this time. But on the left is how Bridie Linden was looking on mobile last time we had a look. And on the right is how Bridie Linden looks with this particular setting on. Now, this one is a bit of a difficult setting because it's one that basically ignores deformer data when the deformers have all close to 0, but not quite. That can have some pretty extreme results, which you see on the left there. However, it also can break other avatars. As we can see here, we've got Stray Linden's avatar, and her eyes are just a little bit bigger than they should be. And that's because the deformer that moves the eyes back is not being applied because this setting is on. So that's sort of the kind of regression that can happen. And when I've talked about sort of sometimes we fix something and then break something else, this is the classic example. This particular setting I'm leaving in because obviously if your avatar looks like what's on the left, you probably don't want that. So this setting will potentially give you some options to change that. However, there is a more precise fix we need to do here, and we're going to need to do a lot more investigation to figure out exactly why that particular deformer data is ignored in the desktop. In theory, it shouldn't be, but in practice, it clearly is. So there is something that is causing that to work again, and we don't quite know what. If we have a look at the next slide, we'll return back to this issue of what I was talking about with ordering of data. So animations and bones are something else that can modify sort of how your skeleton works. Some people wear animations that act as deformers. There is some inconsistencies with how this works. One of them is that most animations, when you stop them, will cause your skeleton to reset back to its original state. And that's great. That's exactly what we want to have happen. However, some bones don't. Bones which are used for attachments, which you really shouldn't be animating, but some people have chosen to, they do not reset. Their state is actually inconsistent after the animation ends. They will basically be set to whatever the last value of the animation was, even if the animation has stopped. And this causes some problems when someone else arrives afterwards. So on desktop, if someone arrives after you've played that animation, they will see your avatar looking differently to how you see your avatar looking, and that's not great. Animations which translate bones can also cause this same problem. Mobile is going to reset these, and it does reset these. So at the end of the animation, we revert back to how it was. However, animation-based deformers, if they're not always running the animation, they will have problems because we don't use the last animation state. There is a problem here that we do need to figure out how we're going to solve. It's not an easy one because we want to have a consistent experience for people's avatars. My personal request would be please don't animate these bones. However, I know that request is going to fall on deaf ears, and there is a lot of content out there that does. So if we move to the next slide. We have actually implemented a partial fix for this. We have got a solution for this particular problem because our most recent update, we included some better attachment bone support, and suddenly we became susceptible to these bugs. We have now fixed a partial thing by injecting some additional bones in here that allow animations to target those attachments in a slightly more consistent way with what goes on. However, there is still going to be some incongruence here, and we're going to have to struggle to figure out exactly what we do here, whether we choose to break content, which I don't think we want to do, or if we can find a better way of doing this on desktop or something along those lines to try and make this work a bit better. If we move on to the next slide, there is a similar and related bug that we found as well, and that is that some animations can target things that they shouldn't even work. And they suddenly started working. We have now fixed that so that those animations no longer work again, which causes Grumpity's avatar to now render as it should do, which is what you can see here. Let's move on to the next slides. So, what's next for avatars? Well, the first one is that I really want to start expanding the avatar test suite. As I said, we've got 85 avatars in there, and we've got 69 of them now rendering correctly. I would like to get that up to the full 85, but at the same point in time, I am certain that if we have 85 working avatars, there is probably still a few thousand avatars that are still not going to render quite right. So the next steps for us are going to be expanding that avatar test suite now that we can. I want us to get us up to 100% pass if we can, but let's see how we go. The other thing that we're working on in avatars and rendering is improvements to resource loading and texture handling. I think I might have touched on this last month, that we're looking at what we call internally variable textures that sort of expanded into Atom's experimental branch with lots of changes to how content is loaded, which has made Bridie very happy. However, this particular change will do things like, for example, as you move around the scene, avatars will unload and reload. It means that we are no longer sort of fixed to the same mounts that have loaded. They stay loaded forevermore until you move to another sim, which will also help with the silhouetting because you'll have more RAM available. And it also means that we can load lower resolution textures when there's no room to load the full ones. And that's also going to help out with seeing more content at once. So the next, let me read out the giant disclaimer here. Ordering and priorities may be subject to change. This is stuff that we are working on, but there could always be something that pops up and eats a little bit of time in front of this. But this is something that I'm working on at the moment. Move to the next slide. I think we're done. Oh, cool. All right, so yes, thank you all for listening to this. It's been interesting talking about this, but I'm open to questions and comments and feedback about our avatar rendering. And if anyone has any, please just drop them to chat.
Thank you, Adam. That was awesome. It was a mere 22 slides. I think I definitely learned some more stuff today. But yeah, I guess important just to restate, we have been working very hard on getting avatar correctness correct. And with Adam's, what he shared, I mean, we're getting closer and closer. But yeah, these are in the pipeline. They are not yet in a build that has been released to alpha or the beta app yet.
I should probably add to that as well. Bridie mentioned it in chat, but I'll just do it for safety's sake. Many of the things I showed you are not yet in a release build. They will be coming to a release build soon, but when soon is, I don't know.
Correct. All right. I'm going to look through chat and see if there are any questions, but you're welcome to use voice.
All right, Bridie, I think we'll hand back to you.
Test, test, test.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Maybe Adam can't hear me. Oh, voice in Second Life. I assume everybody could hear Adam though, yeah? Interesting. Okay, well, maybe it's Adam. Maybe Adam needs to toggle voice.
Hello? No, I don't.
Yeah,
I can see
I can
your.
hear you.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. I'll relog.
All right, we'll wait for him to come back, but I'll scan the chat to see if there are any questions we missed. But if you thought of anything to ask, you can use voice or type it in the chat. And if not, we'll just wait for Adam to come back. But I don't have anything else on the agenda for today. I'm just going to save tips and tricks for when Beanie is back. And I did take a look through our feedback portal and didn't see any brand new issues that we hadn't already reviewed. But we can also going to have open mic if we've moved on from Adam's presentation. Sorry, just waiting for Adam to come back. Are you back, Adam? I can't tell if you have a voice
I
line or
am
not.
back. Sorry,
Okay,
I
can you
might
hear
have
us?
talking over the top of you.
Nope, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we were just seeing if there was any questions that we didn't catch that went by in chat. So for Adam, let's see. So one from Snowlord, curious with mesh creators defaulting items on the right hand quite often. Have you found that it affects losing items or how alpha blends work versus desktop?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes. Well, let me just paste it again.
Ah, that's even better.
There you go. Mesh creators defaulting items on the right hand quite often. Have you found that it affects losing items or how alpha blends work versus desktop?
No. So this is when I talked to earlier about how we use order independent transparency. We don't use the attachment ordering in order to order transparency. We use actual Z depth. Because the way we do our dither transparency, it means that we don't have to worry about those kinds of sorting issues. But it also means that we don't need to tell Unity that there is 40 different layers of rendering order, which can keep the performance nice and high. So for us, it's a very sort of different problem, different solution. Our solution may not be completely consistent with what the desktop does, but I think it will achieve what creators are looking for, which is effectively order independent transparency.
Yep, and then I saw a question from Nix, but about your name tag issue. We have seen that and brought it in, and it is on Brad's plate. Thank you, Brad. Anything else?
Ruby, that's an interesting question. So if it's to do with avatars, it's possible one of the fixes that we just did in the last 2 weeks actually did improve the way object rotations happen. However, there is a difference. One of the things that the Unity engine prefers is using a different coordinate system to Second Life. So Second Life uses right-handed and Z up for its coordinate system. Unity uses left-handed and Y up as its coordinate system, and we have to translate between the two. And sometimes those translations are not quite perfect. There also potentially are issues when we're animating to rotate between them. I think we've got most of those solved, but if there is still a case of you seeing something not quite right on the coordinates and rotation, do let us know, especially after the next sort of update or two to the mobile app, because with avatars in particular, we have had quite a lot of problems like that I've been systematically whacking one by one.
And Kira, it looks like you had a question. You can either type it or use voice. Here we go. Are you asking about WebRTC voice and getting that to the rest of the grid? Ah, yes. I'll just say it's in progress. And we are doing additional work on the volume. Thank you. River, you're asking about inventory. One of the things that is on our list, Pluto, I don't know if you want to speak to that more.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot to say yet other
Yeah.
than yes, definitely it's on our
Mhm.
radar. And yes, it is a, very large project for us to undertake. So we are kind of trying to take bites at it with the resources and time that we have, and know that, we're going to sooner or later need to reckon with how to do that. And it's going to probably be a sizable amount of work. So we're trying to be strategic about when we take that on, and making sure that when we commit to doing it, that we have the resources to do it as well as it will need to be done, and as thoroughly and as carefully as it needs to be done. So expect to hear more about it. It's not. It's definitely not something that you'll see. Any substantial work done in the next 2 months, but it's definitely on our roadmap.
Yep. And if you could see me in real life, I was just nodding my head a bunch. Looks like Nick's had another question for you, Adam. And looks like you're answering that.
Yeah, so I just answered Nix's question. Hopefully that helps. There's one interesting here about has been anything learnt from mobile that can be utilized to improve desktop? I've made some suggestions to the desktop team on occasion on things that maybe we can be doing. I think that's something that maybe Brad, you might be a better person to answer that question.
Yeah. I mean, I know the desktop viewers backlog is also very deep, so I don't know how quickly some of those things are going to be forthcoming. But I do know that we're looking for ways to unify the experience and share things that we can. Um, Chat history, I think, is high on that list. Where making it so that the basic usability expectations of chat messaging are consistent across mobile and desktop, I think is going to be a must-have. So that's going to need to be improved in the desktop viewer to support that as well. But I have no idea when that's going to actually when that's going to happen. I think another one that I would like to put in front of desktop viewer folks are this sort of avatar automated testing type thing that Adam went into such detail about. That would be a big win for what the desktop viewer needs as well. So
Something that I think has been something that's been a godsend to us has been the debugging capabilities we've built into the mobile app. They really do make it a lot easier for us to find and solve problems. And I think I wrote up a nice spec for the desktop team to have a look at for building something similar.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just reading through the question. I don't think we have any stragglers that I missed. But yeah, I guess just to wrap up, one, thank you, Adam, so much for doing that presentation for everybody. And two, yeah, there is no shortage of things we want to do for you, for all of us on the mobile app. And we appreciate all of the support in finding and reporting issues and making suggestions. We really do pay attention to what you guys are saying on Discord, as well as in the feedback portal and the bug reports that come from the app. They're just enormously helpful. And we also thank you so much for your patience. I know we wish we could move even faster than we do, but alas, there are only so many hours in the day and so much to do. Oh, cool, Adam. Well, I'm going to close us out for today. We will talk to you in real time in another month or so. Again, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.